As this year comes to a close, it is time once again for the Roll for Crit Holiday Gift Guide. Now, for those who don't know, the idea behind this video is to give you a list of games released this year that you're going to be interested in for all your gifting needs. We break up this video into different segments. First, we have the lighter end games. These are going to be quicker games with also not too many rules needed in order to play them. Then we have the moderate games. These are going to be a bit meatier, a little bit longer, but you could still fit a few of them in a game night. Finally, we have the heavy hitters. These are going to be probably aimed more towards your deep in the hobby enthusiast style kind of games. Definitely going to have tons of rules, really complexity, probably going to have a campaign and a few pounds of plastic minis. Then there's also going to be a honorable mention, aka miscellaneous section. This is more for something that maybe I wasn't sure fits into some of the other ones, or it was just released a little after the last gift guide and I put it here even though it's last year kind of thing. It's pretty much whatever I want to be and may have some weird few things. Now, if you're looking for games not just released this year, a great resource for you to go to is the Roll for Crit site. Our list of the critical hits are all our games from all our top lists, including whether it be like top 10 deck builders or top 10 games from whichever year. So any of those games are ones that we've loved and have so much fun with, so you can check out that as well as this video. But now, let's start off with the lighter games. Our first entry on our list of light games is perfect for someone who wants to play a game with that special someone in their life, with Splendor Duel. This is a two-player version of the beloved game Splendor, in which you'll be gathering up gems, spending them in order to gain victory points, this one with some new rules and components specifically to perfectly fit a head-to-head match. Both this and the original Splendor would be perfect suggestions, as they are quick to learn, extremely colorful, and even I will admit I love the components, in particular the chips. It's always fun to collect them and hear that satisfying clank whenever you spend them, or in my case, just keep fidgeting with them. Next, we have Cat in the Box, which reinvents the trick-taking genre, but not in a way that I believe will be complicated for anyone who played any trick-taking game before. Like plenty of other trick-taking games, you're going to try to play the highest card of suits. However, in Cat in the Box, depending on what's going on, the suits can change. Your cards are all going to be basic black cats, and on your turn when you play a card, you're going to choose what color it can or cannot be. Depending on what cards your opponents play, you might not be able to play that green 4 anymore. You might have to choose a blue or yellow or red 4. This has a lot of interesting replayability, and it's going to have those moments when everyone's laughing at each other and just to see what shenanigans happens when they find out that the cat that they played might not be exactly what they expected. Next up on our list is Acropolis. This is a tile-laying drafting game in which you will draft different city tiles, placing them together or even on top of each other in order to try to score the most points. Like Cat in the Box, I have a review for this game as well in case you want to learn more. This game does a really good job of having a streamlined and simple rule set, allowing people to still feel like they accomplished in building a city and gaining points, while at the same time not trying to overthink and maybe cause too much analysis paralysis, so you can actually get through a game and get excited to try and play another. This next one is technically cooperative, but in a very interesting way. Decorum is perfect for anyone who really likes to decorate, design, or coordinate. The idea is you will be working with the other players in order to decorate a house with different wallpaper, furniture of different colors or objects. The problem is each player has their own secret desires, such as I want to make sure there are only green objects in the upper floors. Because of this, you're going to ask if you can place this object in this room, trying to bargain with each other and being like, I don't really like this item. Can we instead make it blue? So you have to try to learn based on what the hints people are giving, what their desires are. There are a bunch of different scenarios that things get more complicated, and see if you can work together to find the perfect balance in your house. But now the clock is ticking because our next two games are real-time games. These are ones that you don't actually play during turns. Rather, there's going to be a literal clock depending on the game. So this is going to be great for people who really love those moments of chaos and panic because there's a timer going off. The first one is kites. In this game, you are trying to work together to keep all your kites afloat. When you ever play kites showing those colors or symbols for a sand timer, you need to flip them over. Your goal is to make sure no sand timers run out. And of course, the sand timers have different times, so one of them may be able to last a while before you need to flip it, while the other one needs to be flipped constantly. The game also includes many ways to ratchet up the difficulty if you become used to the base rules, so this makes it a great game for you to get and learn, and then of course make it more challenging as you get used to the rules and get more experience with the timers. Next though, we have Ready Set Bet. This is based on horse racing gambling, in which one player, or now an app that's available, will be calling out horses as they move up through a track. Everyone else is going to be using a betting board trying to predict which horses may come first, second, third, or maybe some other unique rules such as the horses that are blue all rank in the top half, or maybe that the 9 number horse beats the number 4 horse. Things of that nature. Then when you go into a new round, you'll be getting a special power. This could be that you can place a bet where someone else placed a bet, or you can get more money depending on how the horses finish. Pretty much what happens, this game starts with everyone shouting at each other, even though that of course doesn't affect the horses, and becomes just this hilarious chaos of trying to predict how the dice are going to roll and what's going to happen in the app. It's, once again, another video I have a review for. Highly recommend if you enjoy those moments of everyone screaming and shouting and laughing at each other. Now though, what is of course great to get people into board games are already existing properties. So let's start with some of the bigger ones, and that's Disney. Disney first has a new Star Wars pandemic game, Star Wars The Clone Wars. This is based off of episodes 1 and 3 of Star Wars, using the classic pandemic rules set, so a great way to get into one of the most popular games out there, Pandemic, using a very successful franchise. However, Disney's not done, of course it's not. And we have the Villainous games. If you don't know, there is Disney Villainous. This is not a new game, and though it does have some new expansions that came out this year, there's been a Marvel Villainous, and now we are getting a Star Wars Villainous. All of these use similar mechanics of each player playing as a villain with their own deck of cards. However, they all have their own quirks to the rule set, making each universe stand out on its own. So buy whichever one you think works best as a gift. That said, it's on here because Star Wars Villainous is the newest. And there's one more Disney property game I want to talk about, and that's Marvel Remix. This is an interesting game of hand management. You get cards all throughout Marvel with different heroes, powers, where you're going to try to assemble your hand in order to score the most points. Finally, we actually are going to stay sort of as superheroes, but not with Disney, and that's actually DC's Batman with Batman Everybody Lies. This is a detective game where you're not actually playing as Batman, rather you are playing as people in the world of Batman and Gotham, trying to solve and linking mysteries. It's really fun. Each player is going to have their own special goals and powers as well, so sometimes things may be read only if you're playing as a specific character. This is a cooperative, fun, mystery solving game if you and your friends enjoy that heavy story style gaming. All these games are going to be a perfect gift for someone just getting introduced into the hobby. That said, that doesn't mean these won't be great gifts for someone who already is a board game enthusiast. Even those who play the heaviest campaign games are going to need a palate cleanser from time to time. I have plenty of times have enjoyed a game that is 5 to 15 minutes because it was quick, fun to play, rather than playing 2 games back to back that are multi-hour long sessions. But we're not on the heavy hitters just yet. We're now going to move on to the moderate games. These are going to be your general 45 to a little over an hour style games, fitting in a 12 by 12 box usually. These are going to be where honestly a large population of board games are. So why don't we take a look at these and see if any of these fit your shopping gift guide. Next one is a little bit of a cheat, and that's Bullet Star. That's because this is just a different version of Bullet Heart. I do say though, I love the bullet game. It is a push your luck, pulling tokens out of a bag, getting combos, trying to simulate the bullet hell style of video games. It does a really clever job and is extremely rewarding for people who do like, well, bullet hell style games, as well as I think puzzle games, because a lot of it is trying to line up your enemies, your symbols in the right way, trigger your character's powers. It's definitely one worth taking a look into if any of that sounds interesting. Then we've got Flamecraft. This is an adorable game all about playing dragons in a city that can change depending on which cards come out. And the cards, while they all have unique names and art, do generally stick with the meat dragons versus the jewelry dragons, all act the same, and can actually surprisingly cause some very interesting, crazy combos going on that we noticed while playing, in addition to the extra scoring dragons. It's one I'll hopefully have a review out for you if you want to learn more very soon. If comboing different card abilities as well as bluffing sound great to you, Libertalia Winds of Galecrest is going to be perfect for you. This is from Stonemaier Games, who really does put a lot of love. It's actually an old game that was rebalanced and redesigned to try to keep the core principles, but still add some extra cards, change some rules a little bit. The idea here is you're going to be trying to get the most loot, but there's different kinds of loot. So sometimes, depending on the rules, you may want certain loot before or after. Sometimes if someone takes all the loot beforehand, you won't be able to get it. And of course, there are 1,000 different cards with different abilities that maybe you wanted to play earlier or later. So it's all about trying to read your opponents, what cards they have, because at the start, you will all have the same cards, but as the game progresses, depending on which cards you play or don't play and keep in your hand, you're going to have different opportunities. This is another game I have a video for if you want to learn more. Now, if your gaming group happens to be a little bit bigger, then a great one is going to be the Guilds of Merchant Explorers. The reason is this technically doesn't have a player cap. When I was at Gen Con, I saw a huge room of probably close to 100 people. I don't know, I'm bad at estimating. It was a lot. Playing this game together, making different choices depending on the cards come out, and depending on how you choose to react to that and how you explore the map will help you determine the final scoring. So this is perfect for someone who maybe has a larger play group but wants something that everyone can play together that is a bit more, well, strategy gaming rather than the party style wacky gaming. But if you have a much smaller group, maybe going back down to 2, Caper Europe is a cool one for you. This one is you're playing as thieves, but you are not working together. Rather, you want to be the one to steal all the cool loot before the other player. So depending on which cards come up from different places in Europe, you're going to be going back and forth, gathering your crew as well as equipment, different symbols, and trying to be the one who scores the most loot. Now for some competitive puzzling, this one's really new. It was very hot at Gen Con, and that's Turing Machine. The idea behind Turing Machine is you're trying to find out a number code before the other players. In order to do so, you're going to use different parts of the machine to ask what about your code is right or wrong. Now, this has a ton of little punch cards. It's really interesting, and each puzzle is unique, and I'm sure they'll release more puzzles. The idea being you're going to say, hey, does the code 2, 3, 4 work? And if I ask the arm that says if the second digit is a multiple of 2, then it will say true, if not false. So if I get an answer that my code works with that rule, that means that the second digit is not a multiple of 2 and 4. It definitely will make more sense if you have the pieces in front of you, but the easiest analogy is think of something like Wordle, where you're trying to guess the answer in the shortest amount of guesses, aka before someone else guesses it here. And this is going to use numbers using weird code patterns. It's just something that's really interesting, and at least for me, made a different part of my brain try to work out these rules. This one I probably should have put next to the Libertalia because it's another sort of reinvention, but where Libertalia was more of an update of an old game, this one is trying to lower the bar of entry. Horizons of Spirit Island is a new standalone, almost you can say expansion to Spirit Island. Spirit Island being a game I love, the challenge is it's really complicated. However, Horizons of Spirit Island tries to make it easier for you to actually learn the game rather than spend too long just trying to learn the original. If you don't know Spirit Island, the idea is you are playing as deities of an island trying to fight off colonists. And there are plenty of ways for you to upgrade. There are different gods with different powers and abilities. Even the colonists, you can choose different countries that have different powers to go along with it. It's pretty complicated because it has a lot of different ways and strategies for you to go. Horizons is trying to, like I said, make it a little bit easier. This is one you'll probably find in most big box retails. It's worth checking out, and if everyone likes it, that means Spirit Island and all its expansions are the next perfect gift later on. This next one is going to be a bit harder as it's pretty much everything in the Unmatched series released this year. If you don't know, Unmatched is a game where you can go head to head choosing heroes from any of the sets. Each box is standalone. They can be played against each other. Some come with just 2 characters, some 4, occasional 1, and these can be mixed and matched to play with whoever you want. There are tons of characters from either the public domain or copyright. So you could have Dracula and Bigfoot taking on the Raptors from Jurassic Park, teaming up with Bruce Lee. And I should mention, this has some of my favorite art in all of board gaming in the cards for each character's deck. Now I'll try to fit all the unmatched games that came on screen right now, as well as their prices. The big one I sort of want to point out is the Dr. Sadler versus T-Rex. This is mostly because most miniatures are of humanoid-sized characters, and they tend to fit in the same space and be around the same size. T-Rex is a little bigger, and by a little bit bigger, I mean it takes up multiple spaces and is easily capable of swallowing any of the other characters whole. And ending with another Batman here, we've also got Batman The Dark Knight Returns. Now, I did think about putting this into heavy because this is technically a campaign game. However, it is solo and it has you play through the storyline of the Dark Knight Returns comic, one of the most famous Batman stories. I find this more akin to buying someone a book or a Blu-ray of a movie, as they get to experience the story by themselves, and it's only 4 chapters, just like the book, so it's not terribly long. And then maybe once you put it on the shelf, take it back down if you want to experience the story again, or maybe just lend it out to people. Because of the much shorter duration as well as the single player method, I feel this is a bit lighter versus when I usually think of general campaign games, and will make a great gift of anyone who is a fan of The Dark Knight. Finally, we approach the heavy hitters. Now, this list is going to be a little bit smaller than the rest, partially because there just aren't as many released at the same time. The second one, which is really more of the bigger issue, is going to be the fact that games like these often are sold through Kickstarters or crowdfunding projects, GameFound, and right now you might not be able to actually get some of the games that everyone's talking about just yet. There might not be just pre-order and stuff. I want to try to focus on things you can try to pick up just now. That doesn't mean any of these games won't be interesting to you, and I'm sure anyone who is already well-versed in board games are going to be very excited to try to pick up any of these for themselves, let alone getting to receive it as a gift from you. Now, my first pick I think might be a bit controversial, at least judging from what I've heard other people talk about it, and that's Jurassic World: The Legacy of Isla Nublar. This is a legacy game, and we really wouldn't have a gift list for a year if there at least wasn't one legacy game on here. And if you couldn't guess from the title, it's based all around the Jurassic World Island franchise. Now, there are 2 reasons why I think this might be a bit controversial. First, it might be where it's located. Yes, it is a legacy game, but it's definitely built on the lighter side. This is from Funko, designed to hit a more broader audience. And I agree with that statement. I definitely find the mechanics simpler and easier to learn compared to some other legacy games, but it's still a legacy game to me, which means mistakes can occur, they're permanent, and you're gonna usually want to have that same game group with you constantly, which to me automatically puts it in the heavy section. Now, the other one is I've seen other people give less than stellar reviews about this game, not enjoying it. Personally, I haven't finished the game, so once I actually get to the end, I can maybe give a more personal review on the situation, but I've enjoyed it as much, if not better, than other legacy games I've played. Yes, I am a big Jurassic Park fan, so that is definitely helping out a lot. But I find the matches shorter, so even when you run into those situations of bad luck, which is going to happen in any cooperative legacy game, but even more so in one about a park that never works out, hopefully I'll actually finish the game and maybe finally get a video out for it so you can hear my full thoughts on it. Next up is Endless Winter Paleo Americans. Full disclosure, I actually haven't played this game, and admittedly, I was a little hesitant to even put this on the list at first. However, there was a major point that changed my mind and at least made it worthwhile for you to also consider this when buying a present for that board gamer in your life. I recently came across a list of each game rented out from the board game library and how many times it was rented out during the 2022 Board Game Geek Con. And Endless Winter came second on that list, behind only Flamecraft. So to me, at least, that's a big enough reason to at least take a look at this game and see if it's the right gift for someone in your life. Next up, though, we have Carnegie. This is based all on Andrew Carnegie, the extremely rich man from the 20s, I believe? Yes, the 20s. And your goal is to try to recreate a similar company and wealth as he did. You'll be gaining points trying to manage your workers, gain control of different areas, and maybe even do some of the philanthropy he was known for near the end of his life. This one is perfect for the gamer in your life who really salivates at any kind of heavy Euro-style game, even though this takes place in America. If this sounds like a great buy for you, it's definitely worth checking out. Next, we have Twilight Inscription, which is a roll and write of Twilight Imperium. Now, usually, roll and writes will move down into the lighter style of gamings. Twilight Inscription does not do that. In this game, you will have 4 separate boards in which you write on, and depending on the dice that are rolled, you'll interact with different boards. Depending on how other people interact next to you, you'll do war with your neighbors. It has so much going on. This is one of the heaviest roll and writes I've had the chance to play. And obviously, if you know someone who is a fan of Twilight Imperium, giving them a game that, well, it's technically not as long as that, so it will be able to actually probably hit the table a little bit more, will be very rewarding for them. For those who are looking for something a bit more campaigny, we've got Vagrant Song. This game will have you play as people who have found themselves on a strange haunted ghost train, all in the style of the rubber hose animation with these beautiful little pieces. And of course, the art itself is really awesome and a really cool upgrade for each character. If you're looking for that cooperative campaign game, but want something that is a little bit different from your usual orcs, knights, and elves, definitely take a look at Vagrant Song. Then we've got Tilitum. Tilitum has you play as merchants during the Renaissance, in which you're going to have to go from different locations, trying to set up your own merchant houses, as well as trying to help build up the cathedrals there, spreading your influence and power. One of the things that makes this game very attractive is this has a lot of Euro-style mechanics and controls. However, setup can be very random, meaning it's going to be really hard for that one strategy to always work. Depending on what comes up or even what dice are rolled, which you use for your actions, means there's going to be a bit more variety here, meaning each play session is going to feel different. Finally, My Father's Work. This is for the really story-heavy Amero-style games people out there. This game has you play as mad scientists over 3 generations, and this uses an app, and depending on the choices you make, whether you go really heavy into being creepy or crazy or do specific goals in time, can change the outcome of future generations. There's different kinds of workers as well. They're all powerful. I have a video on this. It is a lot of fun, especially if you love that gothic horror theme and a bit of cheeky humor at the same time. Finally, the Miscellaneous. We got some weird ones here and a couple things, honestly, I want to shout out, even though they're, I think, a few years old or something, but more of just letting it be known, because I don't think we talked about in previous holiday gift guides, but you know what? It's where I can do whatever I want. It's some weird, interesting stuff. Please check it out and tell me what you think. First off, Ark Nova. This is a very heavy game, but it technically came out last year. But I, as well as many other people that I know of, first got to experience it this year. So I'm going to put it in the miss section, but this easily could have been put into heavy. It is a huge game all about building a zoo. If you want to know more about it, I have a video for it. Overall, I was pretty positive about it. I think it has a lot of fun strategical building strategies to it. Next, we have the Lord of the Rings card game revised core set, as well as I'm throwing in here the Arkham Horror revised core sets. These are actually older games, just getting new versions. Arkham's technically happened before this year, but I just wanted to throw them out because they're designing them to make it much easier to collect these cards. These are living card games, and previously you had to buy packs separated for each cycle, a cycle being usually 5 to 6 chapters, and sometimes it's just hard to get one. Now the entire cycle is going to be in a full box, meaning that it is much easier for you to just get each part that you need and not have to wait on a bunch of little things and maybe realizing you forgot one and then it's out of print, so you have to wait for it to get a print. As someone who is collecting Arkham Horror before these, I sort of wish they just started off this way. Then escape rooms, always a big thing. There is the exits are a big popular one, and there's 2 I want to point out. There was a Lord of the Rings one that was released this year, as well as these were released last year, but I don't think I brought them up, and I really love the idea. It's the Advent calendars. I actually have been playing through one, and we'll hopefully have a video out soon, but the idea of playing puzzles over a whole month rather than one full session is a really clever, fun idea. Yes, I know Advent calendars are a Christmas thing, but this is too good of a mechanic and idea to limit it to one theme. Finally, I always gotta shout this out, and that is dice and sleeves. No matter what kind of player they are, be it board game, card game, RPG player, tabletop war game player, dice and cards will always be good. In particular, I'm gonna shout out Dragon Shield, not just because I always use them for my commander decks and Magic, but they have now where you can send in custom art and they'll print those for you. A gift like this can be really meaningful, whether it's a really important photo of them or something that would be really funny and perfect for whatever silly shenanigan decks they have. And with that, we come to the end of the 2022 Holiday Gift Guide. If you think there's a game that would have made a good gift, be it for friends, family, rivals, let me know in those comments down below. I'd love to hear from you and just your thoughts on the list in general. And of course, a little bit a timely but extra thing. If you're in the tri-state area, don't forget PAX Unplugged will be in Philadelphia. I'm not sure if they still have tickets available, but it's a cool convention. It's really fun. I'm going to be there. So great place to maybe play some of these games and try them out before you decide to actually buy it for yourself or gift it to someone. It's really fun, great place to be. So maybe that's another gift. Early tickets to a board game convention. You know what? That's a classic. I should probably put that under the beginning of the video. It's always great to go to a board game convention because you'll meet people to play board games with. But for now, thank you so much for watching for this. I'd love to hear all your thoughts. And if you could, gift me the like, share, subscribe. It's helpful. And if you think someone could use this list, maybe someone who needs to buy you games, send this to them. And of course, thank you to everyone on Patreon who supports me here. All my rollers there are awesome, and you help me so much and help me continue to make videos. But for now, I'm Will, and this has been Roll for Crit.